Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks meeting for the 17th of July 2025. This is the Notebooks 2.0 meeting. So as always, I like to just start by linking people to this issue, because if people don't know what Notebooks 2.0 is, this is the best place to very quickly see what it is. It's obviously still being developed, so things will change and are changing every day, but it's a full rewrite of Notebooks 1.0. Same goal, run IDEs and develop, and actually more than IDEs now on Kubernetes. For AI and data and just interactive things, including as part of Notebooks 2.0, SSHing into the node so you can connect to Cursor or whatever else you like to use from local machine, which is obviously a new feature. It's quite complicated from a technical perspective, so it won't be in the very first release, but just if you have, if you've got lots of experience with stuff like that, that is actually something that I'd like to call out, that we need people who can handle like we effectively need to route SSH into various pods and things like that. Because obviously SSH is a TCP protocol and everything. I know there's some tools from Cloudflare that we might be able to use there. So if you work at Cloudflare, please tell me. Or I know lots of people who work at Cloudflare. So, but we could, if they are interested in helping. And I know they use Kubeflow notebooks. Anyway, okay. So let's continue. Okay, so yeah, code happening in notebooks repo, Kubeflow notebooks repo, front end, back end, controller. If you have experience in these areas, or people who want to help, please do. We're always interested in new people, preferably people with development experience. I don't really want vibe coding going on. It's a brand new project, and that can really destroy the project in the short term. Long term, maybe more. Okay, let's roadmap. We just have this overview of the personas who are going to be the goals of what the goals of the project, not from a technical perspective, but from an outcome perspective. Well, there's some technical goals here, but it's high levels, and that's kind of what's informing our epics. If you're a user of Kubeflow notebooks, please add yourself to the notebooks adopters file. We need to really advertise that a bit more, because we just created it. Adopters of overall Kubeflow as well, or any other component, please do. This helps us with the CNCF. It helps us with various other things. If you are a CNCF member and you would like your logo to be listed on the homepage, I know there's a couple of other CNCF members who just need to get approval from the marketing team. So this obviously has to be approved by the steering committee. But if you think that the steering committee would accept you and you are a CNCF member at any level, silver or whatever, as an organization, you're welcome to be listed on the front page if you use Kubeflow or sell it or something. Great. Notebooks 1.0, I don't see Kimonos here, but there's some stuff going on there. I know the dashboard repo is being worked on, so I'm not going to give any update there unless you know anything. Andy, have you worked with Kimonos over the past week?
Oh, sorry, I lost my window. Yes, so Kimonos has outlined steps that he feels like we need to take to achieve first release. We have had some developers from Red Hat start to pick up some of this stuff. There's one, in terms of your opinion, Matthew, there was like kind of I think it was like issue number 125 on Kubeflow dashboard that was really just advocating for like, here's the tags, here's the image names, here's the GHCR repo that we're going to push to. And I know Kimonos and Julius had been talking about it. So just to make sure, yeah, that one, or I'm sorry, it's 118 was the one here that's kind of like the meta one where don't feel like you need to comment on it now, but Kimonos is kind of getting closer to a proposal here just to make sure, you don't have any issue with it or your feedback is getting included. The rest of the issues are more kind of concrete, influenced by the outcome of this ticket, but they're like, here's what you need to do with,
that must be a typo, right?
No, that's, I think, what they were talking about.
He wants Kubeflow and Kubeflow for this one?
So old image name versus new. Oh, so I see what you're saying. No, that must be a typo. Yes, I'm sorry. I feel like that must be a typo.
Okay.
But good to call out for clarity. But anyway, so I think
yeah. So the only thing about this is that whatever they do decide, I would prefer that I create the repo so that I create it with the correct security settings. But like, because as soon as they actually make a PR, it will create the repo with no one having access to it, unfortunately, if the CI/CD bot creates it. So then I have to go get...
Yeah, so the general plan, you did put hold on those published PRs that we have there right now. So the thought would be, we'll get all of these things resolved first before we kind of unblock any
Julius
of the published PRs that were there.
But like, it's very tedious, and Yeah, the few people who have super admin on the org that could fix it. It's just very tedious. There's not that many images. It's not as bad as notebooks, but
Right.
like doing that took me like a couple of hours to fix when that went wrong. Okay, okay.
So yeah, so for Kimonis' stuff, the work that he's outlined, I feel we have a fairly good handle on. Other than if you have opinions on this 118 issue,
So I'm happy
that
to
then
do
kind of
this. Yeah, like I guess yeah, that's probably fine. Yeah. I don't really care. I'm not
okay.
the only debate really is whether we use the old ones or not. I like not using the old ones personally because it lets us continue to release the old versions out of that one if we absolutely have to. It does create some confusion, but it and loses history, but um changing the version I think is the bigger interesting question that they've got going on here. Does anyone have an opinion here before we move on? Anyone want to express their opinion on dashboard versioning? Because obviously this will now align to an old version and eventually will catch up to the old new version. You know what I mean? Like this is my only concern is that there will now be.
Yes.
Also, is this really this or should this be something else? You know what I mean? Like dashboard, that's a bit weird, but um this is my only concern. Anyone otherwise we'll eventually catch up, you know what I mean, to like versions that are reasonably recent. And then they'll be like, what version of notebooks are you dashboard are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like this is kind of
Right.
so like, is there a reason not to just jump this to 2?
That's also I mean, I think
I
that's a
think we should
viable,
jump
I
to
mean,
2 personally.
okay. I think that, I can appreciate that. This is a net new repo. You know what I mean? I think that gives clear distinction. So that seems
Even
reasonable.
if we have no significant changes, um, the reasons are one, the breaking change is the new repo and GHCR URLs. If we don't, eventually we will catch up to the existing version numbers and it will raise questions like which version of dashboard 1.5 are you using? And then the last one is that when we eventually make an actual breaking change, we can just jump to V3. Anyone disagree here strongly?
I think that sounds reasonable given the realities of the situation.
Yep. Okay, it obviously is going to cause a separate set of questions, which is, hey, what did you change in V2? And it's going to be nothing. We just moved repos, and that's the breaking change.
Oh, and I'm sorry, one other process thing related to work that Kimonis has been working on is around, and he's put a thread in the channel, but with Notebook's V1 work, as he starts to just kind of plan out that migration, he was asking a question around Epic's features, tasks, or kind of format. And I feel like we should probably use that similar issue styling for the V1 work, but I didn't know if
But
you
there's not
had
really any
this.
V1 work to do other than migration.
Right, and that was the counter argument is if it really is just a small handful of tasks we need to do, then it's kind of overkill to define this as Epic's
The issue is
features
he wants
task.
to make changes to V1. I'm personally against it. I'd prefer that V2 is where the work happens. Like even very basic changes in V1, other than I think we should avoid anything but security changes. And I don't mean like changes to the security infrastructure, which is what he actually wants to do. So anyway, okay, let's move on. Anyone else got anything for graduation or V1? Graduation's currently stuff happening. I know that Kimonis. Yeah, Julius. No, it's Kimonis. No, it's flipping Andre. That's what I'm trying to say. Wants us to merge a PR about having a security policy, I believe. We do. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so we might need to. This is probably the only one which we need to review as soon as possible so that we can actually submit the thing. So I guess, does anyone have any objections to merging this?
It looks like a carbon cutout, like different Kubeflow components have this. Obviously, just swapping out the name Kubeflow notebooks with Kubeflow, whatever other components. So I kind of look like I LGTM'd it because it's aligned with other security.md files that have already been merged in other components. And so it seemed reasonable to me in alignment across other
This is
things
the
was my
line I'm
main.
like not sure if that's true though. We don't support necessarily which versions. We don't really have a support policy. This does affect everyone, so like I don't know, but like it's pretty much saying that the 2 minor releases are supported. I don't know if that's true. Definitely hasn't been true in past. Anyway, I'm okay with just saying this. I just think this might come back to haunt us a little bit. Especially when there's no released version of V2 right now. But you know, I think it's probably fine to just merge this. I don't think there's any. It just adds up 1 file, right? Security.
Correct. Yes.
Well, we have not agreed on a support timeline, e.g., no policy. E.g., minor version -1 gets security patches. This is a good start, so we can merge. Okay. He'll just be happy about that. Okay, let's move on. AMD is not here today, I don't think. Okay, so migration, that's what we just talked about. Notebooks v2. Logo? Jenny?
Yes. So
Ooh,
about
you're quite
that.
quiet. Oh, is that
Oh,
me or you?
can you hear
Oh, there's
me
okay. Yes.
better?
Maybe. Yep.
Can you see me? Can we hear me? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I just wanted to follow up on the status of that. I think per our last discussion, Matthew, I think we were just saying that we were gonna just circle back on that and check in on the status of that CNCF ticket. Do you know if there have been any updates on that this
Yeah, I just
specifically?
looked at it, and on Tuesday, Nate Waddington, whoever that is, I guess that's someone from the CNCF. So if you want to, I guess we'll check up with him later. But he says that they've sent this to their design team. So I don't know what he said. He'll keep you up to date.
Oh,
Meaning that,
excellent.
so not you. I don't know, but the issue. I guess I could comment here saying, hey, if they want to clarify things, reach out to Jenny on Slack.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to be the point of contact for that. I
Let me
don't
do
have
that. So
access
what's
to
your
the
name on
ticket.
Slack?
It should just be through the CNCF. Let me see here. It is just at Jenny, I believe. I think that's it. That's the one.
There's quite a few Jennies.
Jenny Montrose, maybe. I think if you
Okay,
type in
yes.
the full
Is
name,
that
yeah,
is
it comes
that
up.
so that's definitely the one that's correct, Jenny Montrose.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Yep. There we go.
Let me
That's
just
the one.
confirm. Yeah, say I'll just tag him and say thanks at Nate. If the design team needs any input, have them either start a thread on Kubeflow notebooks channel or directly message Matthew Works and Jenny Montrose on Slack. I don't know. I won't probably respond very much. You can manage that. I'll just be there in case you're away. Okay.
I don't have access to the ticket, so I guess we can just continue to follow up at
Yeah,
these
yeah,
meetings on the status. That sounds great. Thanks,
yeah.
Matthew. Yep.
Thank you. Or has questions. On CNCF Slack. Okay, there we go. Because I obviously love to get that one. I think everyone wants us to have a logo before we release. So, you know. Okay, cool. Anyone else got anything they want to add about the logo? Obviously, that's just a proposal. It's not the exact logo we're going to use. Okay. Whoa. So yeah, we did send the brief. Let me just add that to the doc though. This design brief was shared with CNCF design team. They are working on it. And then I'll add a link here. CNCF ticket. Is that most people won't have access to that. Okay. Okay, cool. I guess what do we have in terms of the epics, Andy?
Biggest focus the past couple weeks and continuing on to next week, I imagine, is this central dashboard integration, getting these manifests defined. I saw that the front end one was just opened. We have another developer and we have a back end one that was open that I just started reviewing this morning. An additional developer has been looking at just the central dashboard setup in general. My hope is, based on your availability, Matthew, either this afternoon or tomorrow for me, I want to try to get all of this running kind of end to end to see where we have gaps on. But central dashboard, definitely the big focus right now. The other considerable piece of work, although it's just kind of getting started, is the code generation stuff. Guillermo has done a really nice job starting to look at how to replace not just the typed models, but the kind of REST client itself, Matthew. And he started to do some preliminary work as of this morning. He was saying it feels like it's going to be a fairly painless swap. He was just starting to generate off of a stub that I gave him that it looked pretty good. So he's going to continue to experiment with that, but it looks like highly likely that we can make that switch fairly quickly. I did see that the proposal that you helped me come up with around swag and using JSON emit empty for the Swaggo swag repo. I got a PR accepted and merged, and then I haven't verified this, but I tagged the developer who merged the PR, and he said that asking when a release could be cut, and I just saw in my Gmail that he did say a release was cut for us, but then I didn't look at, 116.5, that was it. So I was very pleased with how quickly and responsive that community was.
Yeah.
So we can update. We'll make sure to get that PR race to get that updated.
Oh, that's they hadn't had a release in a while, had they? Or?
I was nervous when I wrote that because it's been November 2024 was the last time. And he's like, oh,
so we
here's
managed
a release.
To pull in a bunch of random updates as well. That's nice.
So yeah, so we'll need to verify. I mean, we use a pretty vanilla cut, so the stuff that I saw hanging out there didn't look too controversial, but we'll certainly test it. But definitely getting this in now that we can actually get this going is very cool because this makes things so much easier for us to manage.
This is an actual breaking change. Did they realize that? Or whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like they should have cut a not patch release, but this is going to cause problems. Anyway, whatever. That's fun. They can run their project how they like. Okay. I'd suggest this is probably gonna end up getting pulled though, but we'll see. It's only been out for 13 hours. This Go at least has version locking, but certainly this is gonna cause unexpected changes for people. Does this actually enable by default?
It is, well, the omit empty, the way this works with required, right? If you have something decorated with omit empty, it just wouldn't pop up in the required column. And it does give preference to the other tags. So it might, there's an edge case here where breaking is a valid consideration, but there could be a case where maybe it isn't because it just doesn't populate the required column if omit
this
empty
is
is there.
It's forcibly going negative is kind of what you're saying.
Exactly, yes. So
what is it? There isn't another way to even set required, as far as I'm aware, right? There isn't.
Right, because you have to explicitly say required true or pass the required by default tag, which populates this collection. It's omit empty would actually make sure it's not included in that collection.
What about
if you have any
both?
actual required tags set, it'll just give preference to binding and validate, which was how this was structured to begin with, and it short circuits after those two.
Interesting. Binding tag. So adding required. So there's a required one that we could explicitly set as well.
As part of binding, yes. Although validate's the much more traditional one. Validate required.
Oh yeah, required. True. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, so for everyone, doesn't matter. This is too technical. Let's move on. Okay. Yes. So okay. So what are our next steps then, other than that? So obviously we need to get an update one in there so that it's, I think, like more obvious what the change looks. Because I think the reason why the client generation was even necessary is just because the update API is going to get super complicated and painful. So this certainly will make that a lot easier though. Hey, Andre, you're here. Hi. You want to say something?
I guess I just have 2 questions, but finish your points.
Yeah, yeah, we're just kind of going through like work items. So if you have a particular thing you want to say.
I just want to talk about notebooks, OpenSF batch, and security assessment.
Okay. Yes.
Do we have time right now, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, if you how much are we like we've got a couple minutes, so what?
So 2 questions. I know that Andy, you're working on top of OpenSF batch, right, for notebooks. I know we need to complete it, as fast as we can to
I think Edo was working on it, right?
Oh, Eder, sorry. So yeah, my question is like, so one of the asks there is to fix vulnerabilities for notebooks, right? So my question is, what is kind of, updates from your side? Because I know we have a bunch of vulnerabilities for UI, which is V1 UI, and how you what kind of plans you have to, to complete the batch in that case.
So yeah, I guess we haven't gone down the list to see the exact ones that are blocking. I think my suspicion is the only ones that would have problems are the same ones that have problems for the for pipelines, which is the default, security like the automated scans, which would show some CVEs. I imagine.
Yeah, so for this we agree that dependent mode is sufficient for now. But the thing is, like, you should not have any critical or high vulnerabilities. Like, you basically need to update libraries, right? Version of the libraries. And I don't expect like Go is the problem. The controller, is a problem, but UI that we maintain, right? We didn't really spend time to update it, right?
Yeah,
because it's still using Angular, 14, and it's very old.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as the dashboard, but which is impossible to update, but it needs to be rewritten, which it is being rewritten. But for the notebooks 1 UI, obviously from a time perspective, like notebooks V2 UI will replace the V1 UI, so you know what I mean. But like I know we're trying to graduate V1 and V2 at the same time, kind of, it looks like. But
no, I mean, I think it's up to you. If we want to say we're not going to graduate V1, we could just graduate V2, and
but that
just
will delay it, right? Until probably after we would be allowed. We were wanting to, if we want to graduate. So like, it's really a matter of what we need to actually understand the current state, right? How many CVs are ones that would cause this to be problematic,
Yeah, so I think we can, find any options. I just want to hear your perspective. What do you think we can do to, graduate Kubeflow?
Well, if there's only, so again, in the same way that, like pipelines probably will have to do some kind of.
So with the pipelines we discussed yesterday, so Alex will help us to upgrade V1 packages for Python SDK. For UI, we're probably just going to avoid it. Maybe we can say, like UI is in progress, but, UI is on part of graduation. We only graduate
Or UI
controller
can
and
be
SDK.
replaced by user's own thing, kind of thing, if necessary.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can say that UI is on part of the project. I mean, there are, multiple things we can say there, right?
It's difficult to say that with notebooks though, because notebooks is the UI.
Yeah, so that is why I want to, understand your perspective, like how we can achieve this batch for CNCF.
Angie, we got an idea? Sorry.
Yeah, do we have the list here, Andre, in terms of like what the notebooks V1 I like need to ramp on to understand better? I'm happy to help here. Do we know, like, here's a list of critical vulnerability? Like, do we have the the report itself right now, so we could like have someone start to at least evaluate the effort of what it would take?
So that's the
it's
question,
in the
Andre. Do you
security.
have that?
Yeah. So Eddie, do you have access to the security page in the?
That would be in the existing repo though, so no, he definitely wouldn't.
So you need to have write access, right, to see these vulnerabilities.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm not going to show it on screen, but I can see it. Let me just look. But so a lot of these. a lot of these are related to dashboard, honestly. I think that if we just focus on the containers that are packaged, you know what I mean? Because it contains the actual binaries which we care about. Because not all packages, for example, a critical vulnerability in like a dev package doesn't really matter. So like I think the question is, I think Julius had a list, right? Didn't he?
Sorry, what is the list?
Like because again, I don't really care about the like dev package vulnerabilities and things. Like the one we care about is the packaged Dockerfile ones, right? So like,
So I think, but we also like serve UIs as the Docker file, right?
that's what I'm
What do you
saying.
mean?
That's what I'm saying is the only ones that would matter for the purposes of where is the actual, which one is it under, by the way?
Yeah, I think it's the 1 second. Let me see on my side.
Because also another way to, by the way, another response to a vulnerable CVE is to say that that package is not in the critical path and is therefore not impacting the project. Like that is like, we need to check, you know what I mean? In the case of some.
Yes, we can also do this, right? And we can say this in our
Because there will probably be a couple we need to update, but there will be some that just aren't relevant. Like, you know, it's for many reasons. But would you know where it's under? Sorry, is it under
yeah, I'm trying to see it. So I think it's under security, passing. Let me see.
EVEs or
Quality reporting. 1 second.
assuming it's this?
What is the name? Dynamic code, dynamic.
Is it that one or is it?
And it's under analysis, right? Dynamic code.
Oh no, there's also this one, which is static and dynamic, which is not really quite how this project
Yeah,
works.
yeah. So yeah, if you go to dynamic code analysis, right, and if you scroll down to
There's
the
also,
so all medium and higher security exploitable vulnerabilities discovered with dynamic code analysis must be fixed, right, in a
I don't know,
timely way.
is this one a hard requirement to get the 100%?
It's a must, right? Yeah, this is needed for passing, right?
Or is it only for like critical and above, you know?
I think it's for critical and high, right?
Because like this one says medium as well.
No, if you hide details, right? All medium and higher severity
That's what I'm saying. Is this one required to get the 100%? Now this, I'm guessing it's probably this one though, right? This one's the actual one that matters. I think this one is not required to get, you know what I mean? To get 100%. I think you can get more than 100% by doing those ones. But again, our goal is just to get 100%, which I imagine is.
No, our goal is get passing, right? And passing required to meet all this, right?
Which is 100%, right? The number goes above 100%. Because they don't know how percentages work.
Anyway, I guess like we just need to make a decision what we do with the UI v1, right?
Yes. So the first question is then, can we get a list of the actual packages which have, like, I know that we were doing some scanning on the Docker images. I think that's the place to start.
Do you do scanning on Docker images?
Other people definitely do. Like, I know that we were running them on the ones that were in the manifests. Of course, we can see them pretty easily by looking at the dashboard's repo. But so like, yeah, that my request for you is just let's get a list of the ones that actually are in the packaged final package of the 3 or 4 also the other issue that's going to happen is that it literally does not make sense, like from a software perspective, we need to ignore all of the example notebook server images. You know what I mean? Like we've got hundreds of images. They just literally don't make sense to include because the users want specific versions of the packages, you know? Like they're not, and they can't be updated. So like, all I'm saying is let's just, like, so the only ones that we care about are the controller and the UI. But anyway,
So I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's up to you to decide again. If you say like notebooks images are not part of this batch, it's okay. You only but it's only batch for the controller, and that's
yeah,
it.
the parts that are actually part
Like-
of the project. You don't have to use those other parts, but you do have to use. Well, again, you don't actually have to. Some people do use replacements for other pieces, but you like the controller at least, and then the UI probably as well. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah,
And yeah, I don't know, from
So-
a security perspective, I can appreciate if I like don't have access because I'm not graduated enough, that's fine. But like if anyone can safely share details with me, I'm happy to myself or find someone else within my company to start to do I mean, quick turnaround time is important here, but try to figure out if there's low hanging fruit or get a game plan together. But I would just like to see the details so I know what I'm working with. So I'm happy to help, but also appreciate, because I'm not a maintainer, if I, can't see that, then no harm, no foul. I just can't help.
It's just hard to disentangle various things.
We can give. So can we give Andy just write access then? And
The problem is that it's
like-
on a random repo in this case. Like it's
no, but like okay, if we migrate code to the notebooks v1, and if we fix them there, like what are the problems?
well, that won't change. Like all I'm saying is that like the fastest way to do it is probably just run a security scan on the actual Docker image.
No, but it's already there, right? Like, I mean, we know this list, right, in the security tab in the Kubeflow.
No, but that's not the actual images, unfortunately.
No, but I'm not talking about notebooks images. I'm talking about the UI right now.
No, but they include images as well. Like everything's a Docker file in the end.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if this is this vulnerability is part of the UI, why it not be part of Docker image? I don't understand this. Like,
Well, it's
You know,
like it's also just like actually kind of complicated because there's many factors as to like what is like a critical vulnerability in a package does not necessarily mean a critical vulnerability in Kubeflow notebooks. Like
yeah, but like basically, because Node Modulus has a lot of packages that you probably just don't use, right? And then it doesn't really expose.
or they're
this
like a transitive
vulnerability.
dependency or a dev time dependency only, or
Yeah, so who can? That's fine. So who can go through this list and just close them then?
because well that's the main question. Yeah, I'd say it's like identifying what actually.
So I guess can we give Andy just write access to Kubeflow, and he just close a bunch of them, and that's it.
Well, there's not that many. I can just go through.
Yeah,
them
it's not that many, right? Like let me see.
But like, so the problem is that a lot of them are stuff like volumes, web app. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't need to touch them, right? Like we forget about all those components. We talk about only Kubeflow/notebooks, right? Kubeflow,
Problem is that
components
they are connected though. Unfortunately, notebooks.
Yeah, but
V2
we don't
uses
gradate
them.
this component, right? We just
We
talking
actually
about
are
notebooks
though.
controller.
Right? Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that is part of notebooks, but V2 notebooks just replaces them. Anyway, let's like. I think we do have other stuff to talk about, but like, in terms of
But
this,
I think my only point, like I think we want to open the issue this week or next week, and I would love like from your working up to at least
so like
what we can do.
Eder
Right?
was working on it, so I'd say that let's follow up
Okay.
with him. In the case of, let's just all agree that the definition of like critical vulnerabilities like can be treated like just because an actual package has a vulnerability does not mean that notebooks has a vulnerability, and sometimes it does, but it doesn't always. So and we're obviously not going to, for various reasons, publish just a list of dynamically scanned vulnerabilities, but to be able to say yes to this, it just says that we need to resolve them when they're reported. And so that resolving could be saying it's not actually critical, or it could be saying it's not even relevant, or it could be fixing it. And so
because Eder will be back tomorrow. He's had personal time and some training that he's been off at. Does Eder have access to this report? Does he have right on Kubeflow? Like I'm meeting with him tomorrow, whether he knows it or not, as soon as he's back, so I can make sure to pass this message along. But will he have? Do we know? I can probably check on there. Will he have access to the security tab himself?
No, but like,
okay,
there probably are other scanning tools that will be available to him. But it's just like, we just need to agree on a plan here, right? It just says like, there can't be publicly disclosed ones that are medium or higher, but critical ones that are reported should be fixed rapidly. I think these are probably the only ones that are actually going to stop the 100%. So we'll work on it, Andre. of course, it's dependent on the timeline of other things as well. Like, so when the main question I have for you, then we need to move on. But what's the timeline that we're actually trying to go for there?
I guess this week, right, Matthew? Like
We can't fix hundreds of issues in a week.
Yeah, I understand. That is why, like, I wanna, you've been in the call in the graduation, right? You really want to, open this as fast as we
But of
can.
course, like pipelines is
Like-
doing stuff as well, right? I'm saying so, like
Yeah,
both of
yeah.
us.
So I
have
told
time.
Alex as well this week. So, and I think Alex, so he didn't give me the particular timeline, but he's been working on this, and next week is the high priority for KFP V1 SDK. So,
To be clear,
I think
their
you know
UI
about the
as well, though,
graduation
right?
timeline, right? So it's.
But I'm assuming they know about their UI issues as well, right?
Yeah, so UI is also UI problems in pipelines, Katib, and notebooks, the same problems everywhere, right? Like,
Well, that's partially what's good about Notebooks V2 is that it should
Yeah.
be relatively straightforward to consume some of the other UIs into Notebooks V2.
yeah. So, so anyway, I guess, like, I just want to anyone from notebooks to just prioritize it, and also like the self-assessment. Also, I think I really want you to at least
Yes,
take a look.
Eda was going through that one,
Like,
so I'll let him
okay.
continue. But
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and
And
so
I
he'll
think,
get
Andy,
to
if
that
you,
one.
yeah, your help also will really appreciated to at least see the architecture for notebooks, because I just at a high level, but maybe we should go to the details there. So, right,
In which page?
it's in the community PR, right? It's
Okay. Anyway, cool. Let's we need to move on, but let's reach out to Eder, and as he gets back over the next day or two, I'm sure he'll have lots of stuff to do. But we'll try and get as much of the badge done that's to the current state as possible, and then know where we stand left. Of course, some of these vulnerability things might change what we have to do, but we'll see.
So yeah, Andre, just take away from my perspective, I will make sure to get with Eder tomorrow and encourage him. He had said he was going to be looking at filling out this form over the weekend. And I will just stress to him to make sure we communicate in, I don't know, either Kubeflow notebooks or Kubeflow platform or whatever, if he has any questions or blockers or whatnot, just so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, thank you so much. And self-assessment, I think also add the link there, so if he can take a look for the community PR, that also will be super helpful. I really appreciate your time. I know it's like it's a hard problem everywhere, so we have the same problems everywhere. So I really appreciate your time spending on this.
Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. Let's keep going. So in terms of Notebooks V2 tasks, so I think the goal for this period is still to get Kubeflow Notebooks 2.0 deployable end to end, using manifests. I think that's the core goal for this. Obviously, let's go through the May stuff first, though. So obviously, there's lots of epics and other things like that. I think we're going to improve some of these tracking things. Do we want to do updates on those, or do we want to go through the goals?
I think that the high level, Matthew, I think is fine here. Like I said, I'd like to, one of the things is really trying to scope some of these epics that Eder wrote down a lot smaller and clear. I think he did a nice job in a storytelling aspect, but it leads to like too much wiggle room on when stuff is closed. And I would like to get some of these epics, making them, some will need to unavoidably be long lived, but I'd like to try to move towards more short-lived epics for some of this stuff. But I think like the May thing,
the goals, I think almost, they're not epics. These are not the actual tasks, but like, so which ones haven't we done here, right? So the I know that this one's slightly blocked by this. I guess, is Hashad here? No, it's not. Okay.
He had a conflict this Thursday, so he's hoping, he's just on the CR changes that the CRD changes that he discussed last week. He's hoping to knock most of that out tomorrow. Start stop, like I said, when me and you have a chance to get together, I think I've reworked all, like, that PR should be ready to go based on your last rounds of review. So yeah, that start stop and connect to Workbench. So we're like I said, I think merge as your time allows. Harshad, once he has something working there, I'll prioritize that initial review first. And that should get us out of May.
And just closing a bunch of random ones. Let me follow up with one it is. Oh, so those Docker image ones. These manifest as well. Let me just close all this. Okay, so.
Oh, and I guess, sorry, that last one for May is just we need to come to conclusion on what you want to do about that secrets PR. I know you said you've been kind of held up with the complexities of the tests there.
It's more like we just had other things that kept, it's just the other things keep coming up for like the other PRs. I still think the top priority for me is get the update workspace API in.
Yep, absolutely agree on that still.
And then
I think
it makes it easier for other people to see how to do it for the other ones.
yes.
It's like there's some complexity there, but that one's mostly done, honestly. It's just needs to be finalized. Although now that we have the yeah, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so in terms of this, I think most of this is done. Other than that, we do need to validate these ones, but it'll be easier once the front end can integrate with the back end anyway. Like it's kind of like it's the front end right now is not forcing the back end to actually do things because it's not actually connecting to it. So that's kind of where we come back to this actually current month goal.
Yes.
Which
yes,
is
that's very critical. Yeah.
So what is happening here? So
with the June stuff,
kind.
we do have the front end and back end on create workspace kind. We have not done. I had a question on validate, so the validate piece might not be there. I mean, we need to close on that, but like I said, everything else you've said that is important, I think, is more important than kind of that validate flow. We can close on that, but I think we could even decide if we wanted to kind of treat that.
So I think
for later story.
Some of those are going to the workspace kind. There will be a couple of new errors that come up from like things I discovered while I was doing the update workspace. But that's just fine. Like as long as the front end correctly handles the a validate response, there'll be just a few new cases of validation errors as well. That's all. Even for the YAML. Has that connected to the front end yet or not?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just a couple more cases of a 4.2, whatever it is, 4.2 or something.
Yes, 4.2.2. Yep.
Notably, when you send an empty YAML, it will now validate things like, hey, you didn't specify a kind, the error you'd expect from that. Technically, yeah. Okay. Okay, so to get this one, oh no, that one, this one. Okay, so we've done most of these already, right? These are pretty much done.
Yes.
Anything not done here?
Well, it's the validate workflow, right? Of like if you want to press a button to validate your change before actually submitting it, which on the back
well, that's
end
what upload is to some extent, right? That's you can't
right,
actually know until then. So
right, yeah. So I didn't know if we wanted to treat this as like a dry run true kind of thing versus just not really worry about it. Like, do we have an explicit validate button here?
Well, I guess that's just a flag on the actual upload, right? Like the YAML upload flag would just need. I don't know what validation is done when you do dry run. I need to check. I think it would still work. So like I can
mess around with it. So this was a question I posed in Slack, right? Even from a backend perspective, would we just want like a dry run true query parameter, or like because that at least like scales across create and update APIs fairly cleanly. But that was like a design discussion I wanted to get your input on before I wrote that up, like on how we want to surface that.
Backend, I'm not even sure, because we're using controller runtime. I'm not even sure that dry run is a flag in update on or create on there. So we need to just confirm that that is the case.
Okay.
Like I believe Kubernetes API dry run is a thing, but let me just confirm. Yeah, there is a verb. Okay, so.
And I thought I looked at when I was looking at some of the API machinery stuff, there are create options and update options structs do have I forget the exact name of it. There is like a dry run flag in. I haven't built it, but on paper it looked like it was viable.
That should work. So then from the front end perspective, it's pretty straightforward. So I guess that's the last thing we need to do for this one, which is so it's not an editor. We're kind of changing what this is, right?
Right.
But it's effectively, yeah. I think do we want to have a validate, or do we just not want to care about it for this?
I think it's more. I mean, like personally, I think it's more interesting in the update story because there's a lot more complexity there. Where I think we should do it. I'm happy to write it up if you're cool. Like I'll write up the issue, but I think we treat that issue as part of the update story, so we could say that this one is closable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's just.
Yeah, I think right now the validate only happens in the API, right? But for the update, we can be a little more strict about what is being input in.
Well, I mean, you don't know most of the complicated issues. Like the update API will will make it more clear what's happening.
Yeah.
But like I just don't think it's necessary for create. This one explicitly says create. So
Yes.
Yeah, so now we have some validation as in like, we want to make sure it's uh, a YAML file that is a valid YAML file and not like an MP4 or a video or something. And then it will also display any errors like you
but don't try
say.
and parse the YAML, to be clear.
No, we do not have nope, we do not parse the YAML. Just no, and when the API spits back an error, we do display it on kind of a banner, listing all the errors out, like you say, Matthew.
By
Like, oh, if
path,
some,
right?
yeah, like I forgot the object's structure, but yes,
Because we give you path information, and so
yeah,
and
and
so to be clear, YAML and JSON are YAML's a superset of JSON. So if you JSON is a valid input, by the way, as a side note.
I can check it out and see.
But it should
and
work. It
see
does
really.
work on the back end. Is all I'm saying.
For front end,
okay.
don't check anything out, Charles. Just don't let. Yeah, it's a fun
Okay.
side effect, but we shouldn't like change anything in the UI as a result of that. But I mean,
The
what
main thing is
Matthew
just
said is
unpack
true.
the error. Unpack the errors. You'll get a couple more errors soon once we do the because of things I've discovered we were forgetting to send back as the correct 422. Effectively, if the status is 422 or whatever, I think it's 422, right?
Yes, it is 422. Unprocessable entity.
That should every case where
Okay.
something about the input was wrong should get that return.
Yep, and I also caught in the past we didn't catch the 409, and I put in some code for that to happen as well. So yeah, I think right now we have a pretty sufficient kind of display of error, and then the user will have to change the YAML in order to get it going.
So yeah, the once we do the client generation, all the valid return types should be handleable there. And if you aren't handling, it should be pretty obvious that one of the returns could be something you're not handling.
Okay.
Because we try and document every possible return status in the generated.
And I've been fixing some as we find gaps on like 413 and 415 that we realized we weren't always documenting. So yeah, so I think the client generation will really help that story. Because we can't just accidentally forget it. Maybe we don't handle it as well on the client side, but we
also,
should be good there.
As a side note, the backend API will hard drop connections which are try and send more than 4 megabytes of data.
So there is some rate limiting.
There is separately rate limiting, but it will. But it's like if you try and send too much data, it just drops the connection. It's like no.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to know.
There's no reason to do that in the front end,
Yeah.
You could actually, I guess, like if the file is obviously too big, I guess say, you know what I mean? Don't even try and send the upload, I guess. But other than that.
Good to know that the API is the backend is handling that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You'll get a specific error. I think the error is request entity too large. You get a 413. Yeah, you get a 413. So if you want to, but again, once you get the client, you'll be able to see all the possible errors pretty easily.
It is all of the 422 and 413 already in the code base?
Yes.
Okay.
Some cases of 422 aren't. That's what I was saying. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, cool. Yeah, so there should be definitely when we're doing some penetration testing, I'm sure we'll find things. But definitely, what's the status on the generation of the client? Because that's the main thing to do this next one, right? We should be
Guillermo is the one working on that, and I know he has some minor changes. One of the things I'll probably be going in today or tomorrow, depending on when we meet Matthew, is adding the operation ID annotation to all of our methods. This controls the name of the function that is named by the generator. And with the way we have workspace get with the list namespaces versus get workspace in namespace, the generator was calling it get workspace details 1, get workspace details 2. So that operation ID gives it an explicit value where you could name the thing, get workspace, get namespaces, and it controls the generated function name. I was going to get a PR open for discussion, and I'll document the conventions I'm using there. But I think Guillermo's got a lot of good positives, and now it's just kind of massaging to make the generated code an ideal maintainable structure. So this operation ID was the main observation he shared today. that is just like a, add one line code commented annotation to all of our functions to control that name, so it's easier to work with on the client side.
Okay, cool. So only one I just want to talk about in the last couple minutes is, so what is the things that are going to stop us from doing the end-to-end connections? Or I guess we'll talk about that later. Anything blocking us here other than releasing these various Docker files and manifest PRs or putting them in?
Yeah, so as far as we know there, I hope to tomorrow start to do some like end-to-end testing to see all this work in practice. I met with Liav, who did the back-end manifest stuff. We got most of your changes implemented, Matthew. I just still personally I want to play with it, is to like see this stuff all running in kind with Istio there. I just haven't got that set up working yet. But Liav and Noah is handling the front-end manifest. I did speak with them about the virtual services and the tie-in to the ingress gateway that we get from, manifest. And so stuff there is close. I just need to see it all working, right? But the PRs are open. Most of the customization review feedback we discussed last week, they have incorporated. And so it's really, I just want to get to the point where I can see both of those PRs working in conjunction with the core Istio resources defined in manifest. Once we cross that bridge, then it's just, tweaking and refining, normal PR feedback on those things. But I feel good about them being in a very close to releasable state right now once I can get it end-to-end tested.
Okay.
There is, and the next, I don't think we need to worry about it right for the next week or two. But then I know you had mentioned, and we're almost at time, so we don't need to go into details here, but certain integration glue points we might need to be mindful of or change within the notebooks UI. Like if we need to make sure something is embedded in an iframe for getting it deployable in central dashboard. I'm viewing that as kind of a secondary concern right now, just making sure for now we can get front end, back end with Istio in kind, all communicating with one another, cross that bridge, and then specifically focus to make sure we can get this rendered within central dashboard is where my head is at. But I said, I think we're getting close.
They don't communicate
to that point.
directly to each other, but the user communicates.
Correct. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Routable, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
But yeah, so it's just what we need to make sure it renders right. And I mean, anyways, we're looking at that. But like I said, making sure traffic flows first, and then anything we need to do to make sure it's rendering appropriately in central dashboard second.
Obviously, all these things are going to connect to everything. Okay, so we're a bit over time. So is anyone got anything they need to ask? Sorry, we didn't really get a lot of time to ask what people were working on. Anyone else blocked by anything that is unable to get unblocked in some other way or has no task to work on? I guess if you need a task, please go on the Notebooks channel on Slack and say either that you have no task, or if you have a specific set of skills, I guess say that I'm good at Go or whatever else, and that would be helpful. Hopefully, once we've got an end-to-end deployable thing, I think that's the goal, and it'll make it a lot easier to notice where things are not working. So like the front end talking to the back end via the user and the auth and routing. Like once we've got an end-to-end deployable thing, it will let us do a demo even, and show people, hey, there is actually progress happening. Of course, some changes are going to happen before we release. But anyone else got anything they want to say?
And I will just announce for the sake of the recording, because Yash has joined the call. And Yash, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. New person interested in joining the community. I don't think his audio or video was working, but he's reached out to me. I've been talking to him in Slack. So, hello, thank you for joining. And I know you asked a question in there. We'll follow up in Slack later, and excited to, see what you can bring to the, the project.
Cool. Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording. People can stay on if they would like.